Hi, everybody. It's Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing Live, number 138. One of these days will be 138,000. Welcome to the broadcast today. It's a warm summer day here in the state of Utah in the United States, and we're getting ready to celebrate the independence of the United States on the 4th of July. And that's coming up in a couple days. So life is kind of fun this time of year. So I want to share this picture with you, see what you think. How do I get that on here? So if I just do this little thing. So let me tell you, or let me ask you, what do you think about that, huh? So this is my Facebook page, and there I am in between two beauties and singing a song on stage. So whenever anybody wants to, why do you do musical theater? Here's the answer. It's fun. And so I'm um, currently performing in the musical My Fair Lady, and I'm playing Alfred Paydulao, a common dustman. So I've got to work on I've got to speak with a Cockney accent, and uh, and I do okay with that. But the songs are what makes it fun. I'm getting married in the morning, or get me to the church on time, as is well known, and with a little bit of luck. And so those are two really fun songs, and we've got this fantastic cast. The show is selling out now, and so it's just really great fun. All right, getting down to the matter at hand. Last week I posted a video. Well, no, actually, just I worked on it all last week, posted it yesterday, and it's a comparison video between a phrase from Evanescence's and Amy Lee's, the front singer, has got an awesome voice. She sings "My Immortal," one of my favorite songs. And when I first heard it, it was like I loved it, and I could tell there was something special about her voice, first of all, but what she was doing in the song. And she was singing in a mix through this really tough area of her voice, and that through those areas there, which take her right into the first bridge. And so, how was she doing that without pulling chest voice? Just like, how is that possible? And so what I did is I found some other. So I found her published video from the album, and then I found some other videos of her doing the songs live through the years. And it's interesting because there's certain instances in her songs in later years where she pulls chest voice. And then I compare all of those videos to 8 other singers, and so you can get an idea of what it sounds like to be pulling chest versus her first one, which is all mixed in that phrase. And so I've had some interesting comments back. If you haven't caught that video yet, it was just published yesterday on the YouTube channel. It's 22 minutes long, I think, and that's longer than I normally do, but it gives a real clear picture of the voice in mix, and what's the possibility of doing it in mix. It just sounds awesome. It's strong and powerful. It's in a genre that has a lot of demand on the voice, and versus pulled chest. And so I've had some comments. Hey, Landa and Valerio, nice to have you here with me today. Welcome. I've had some comments from some of my YouTube subscribers where they say, "Well, I've listened to it. I'm listening. I'm watching, but I don't hear it. I don't hear the pull." And so I want to talk about that today. How is it that you can hear it in the first place? How can you tell it's in your own voice? And then what are some exercises you can do to stop pulling chest voice, right? Stop pulling chest voice. And that's really what I want to help you with. So now, just to make sure that you can hear me and see me okay, either Landa or Valerio, just give me a thumbs up or yeah, I can hear you and see you. Here's the question of the day. Can you tell when you're pulling chest? and when you're not? Can you tell when you're pulling chest voice and when you're not pulling chest? Let me know in the comment section below. I can tell, or no, I can't tell. Because I think it's going to be a very powerful way to begin to monitor yourself. You first of all have to be aware of what you're doing. I have an experience where I was beginning to learn how to, well, first of all, I didn't know I could sing up into I didn't know what head voice was. I didn't know I could sing above the E, above middle C. And that's where I would crack. And if I was lucky, it didn't crack, but that's where I'd just really be fighting it to hold on. And so I wouldn't go any higher than that. Anything higher than that I thought were tenors, for tenors. And so I thought I was just hitting the top, the ceiling of my voice. There was nothing else there, and so I sang from there down to here. So I had, like a couple octaves, low E to the E above middle C. You can sing a fair number of songs there, but I found out later in life that I could actually sing higher than that. That wasn't the top of my voice. And, okay, Valerio gives me the thumbs up, can hear me and see me. Thanks, Valerio. So I found out by attending a workshop that was put on in my area here and by a teacher of Seth Riggs, and he was coming to do a workshop, and so we went, myself and my wife and my 3 oldest girls. This is 22, 23 years ago, and well, it was in the fall of '96, so it'll be 23 years this fall. And it opened up it's a whole new possibility of what my voice could do. I found out that that's not, in fact, the top of my voice. It's the beginning of what's called a bridge. And so that the bridge, if I learned how to get through that bridge area, it opened up kind of a new place in my voice. And so I have I had this experience where I started to learn how to go through the bridge, that is, begin mixing chest voice and head voice and not pulling up the chest voice until it cracked or belting up the chest voice till it cracked. I learned that I could get through this area of the voice and then get into something called head voice. And to do that, you've got to stop pulling the chest voice up. And the larynx has to stay down where you talk. Because I would say, it'll crack. And then but you can't do that. And sing on stage. I do musical theater. So, you've got these, leading male role songs that you want. You can't just break into falsetto and start, singing the song. So that's what would happen to me. And so I learned how to bridge, and I have this on video. I sang for Seth Riggs in another workshop about 9 months later, and I was just so thrilled because I could sing the F. And I never sung an F in my life after my voice changed. And I sang the F, but guess what? When I sang it, I pulled chest. And I sang Maria from West Side Story, and it was not even the original key. It was in a modified key, so it was a little bit lower than the original. But it's like, Maria, and I said, and I was so excited because I could sing an F. That was just like amazing. I had no belief that I could do that. And through this technique, I learned how to increase my range, at least a note. I could go higher on exercises. I could sing. so I could get up into my head voice with bubbles and other exercises. But when I sang the song, I pulled chest. The point is, we learned by degrees, and so I learned to get to the F and the F sharp and the G and so forth. But I was still pulling some chest voice, and the larynx was coming up. So when I sang it for Seth, I said, Maria. And he says, all right. Maria. Maria. And I said, Maria. He says, Maria. So then I started mixing on the F instead of pulling chest. And then he said, Maria, Maria, and I did it. And it ended up being in the A flat, which I think is the original last note in the original score. And he said, do you notice it's easier as you go higher? I mean, he taught me right there on the spot. And I still didn't know what I was doing. But I was getting into my mix and head voice, and the larynx wasn't coming up, and I wasn't pulling the chest voice up. Can you tell? So I couldn't tell I was pulling chest at first. I couldn't tell. And in fact, I don't think I could tell for some period of time. I couldn't hear it. I couldn't feel it. I couldn't tell whether I was pulling chest or not. I'm here to tell you, I didn't. What about you? Do you know when you're pulling chest? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me say hi to a couple of you. We're going to talk about how you can tell and the exercises to help you not do it. Satyam Bastia. Hi, nice to have you here with us today. Russell, are you able to teach belting? I try to teach people how not to belt, okay? Belting is a high larynx kind of process that eliminates many of the overtones available to the voice. And so I don't teach belt. The technique I've been trying was lowering my larynx so chest doesn't pull. Well, that's only one element of it, right? And but that's the first step, is keep the larynx down, which was my problem, because my vocal type, ladies and gentlemen, brrr, bum. I'm pulled chest high larynx. That's what I tend to do when when I'm not thinking, or I default into old habits or whatever it happens to be. That's what I grew up doing. That's the only way I learned how to get to the E above middle C. It was, squeeze and lift my larynx up and try and stretch up that high. Hello, H3000. Nice to have you here. Valerio Dominici says, it's very easy for me to not pull chest, especially when I'm in front of a people. It's very difficult for me to not do. Oh, sorry, I see. Very difficult for me. Yeah. Yeah, it all goes out the window when you're in front of an audience. At first it does. Now, that's not the way it has to be all the time. But when you're first learning, we automatically revert to muscle memory. We go into, it's a subconscious thing that we just do it the way we've always done it. And that's very, very common, Valerio, very common. Don't feel bad about it. It's just muscle memory that kicks in. It takes a little while. And you're right, especially when you're up in front of an audience. Because, you just can't be up there trying something new. It's got to be something that's a habit that you don't have to think about. 3000 says, H3000 said, let me back up. Satyam says, I have a question. Does doing mix bring more nasalities? No. If your larynx is stable and resting, the nasal tone is not part of mix. No. If the larynx starts coming up, then it can get a little bit nasally. You say raising the larynx makes it harder, and that was one of my biggest issues. But now I can control the larynx and still, and I feel lifting the larynx makes it easier in some places. Is that okay? Yeah. So here, I don't mean to project or to give you the idea that raising the, oh, you say raising the larynx makes it harder. Okay, raising the larynx makes it harder to stay in an ideal condition. It starts to so let me show you. Let me raise my larynx. It's not hard. That's not hard to do. What's hard to do is to get all the overtones in my voice to come out when I'm saying that. No matter how hard I try, if the larynx is up, I can't get those overtones. I don't have the full voice. So in that regard, it's hard. It's not hard to raise the larynx. It's hard to get my natural full voice because it won't happen. I have to have my larynx down. I can't do that with the larynx high. That's what's hard. And so with my larynx down, I've got a lot more of my voice available. And combine that then with the emotion or the genre or whatever, then it's so much easier to get all of me available to the audience. So, and that is one of my biggest issues. But now I can control the larynx, and I feel lifting the larynx makes it easier in some places. So, we usually will default to lifting the larynx if we still can't do it any other way. Now, in some situations where you're doing, like in musical theater, a character voice will almost require me to lift the larynx somewhat, but it's not my normal voice. It's a character. Or if you want to take like a female actress who wants to sing Ado Annie from Oklahoma, I'm just a girl who can't say no. And so she's kind of raising the larynx and doing that song. Or Adelaide from Guys and Dolls, where she sings a person could develop a cold, where she's singing with this kind of New England, Bronx or Brooklyn accent, and going into a little bit of a nasally sound. And it's a great character. It's a great character voice. So in those conditions, raising the larynx is called for, and you have to do it if you want that character. But but you got to rebalance. She's got to, if that's not your normal voice, which I hope it's not, you got to rebalance to get the larynx down and get it where you talk normally. If you've ever seen the movie Singing in the Rain, what's her name? Lita Lamont. That's a great character. Well, you've ever heard her speak in other movies? I can't remember her name, unfortunately, off the cuff, and I don't think I would recognize it. But I've seen her in other movies, and she doesn't speak that way, the way she talks in Singing in the Rain, because she's playing a character role. So she's got a larynx up. Well, I'm not people. It's really a great show, but she's not using her regular speaking voice. She's got the larynx high. Anyway, moving on here. You say, okay, so Valerio says, I do not know when I pull chest, especially close to passaggio. So I'll try and point out what that sounds like in my voice. And I want to talk about another principle. Russell says, is there a way to get a voice as powerful as certain belting techniques without actually belting? Yes, because head voice doesn't really seem like what I'm looking for. Well, you're belting in head voice, right? I mean, Russell, aren't you? So if you're belting and you're belting on the G4, it doesn't matter whether you're belting or you're keeping the larynx down and singing there. You're in head voice. So I don't think that you're really meaning to say, because head voice doesn't really seem like what I'm looking for. You want head voice. Whenever you're in head voice, you want head voice. What you're saying is you want what you're looking for is some kind of a belt sound in head voice, right? It actually seems a lot closer to falsetto. Okay, so it's hard to know exactly what you and I are talking about, because you might be defining belt different than I do, and there's like 100 different definitions of belt. The kind of the basic belt definition that I get in my head is that the larynx is high, and you're going a little bit towards a brassier, a kind of a metallic sound, and the vowels are spreading. The vowels are more open. Some people use belt to talk about pulling up chest. So that's the difficulty of a conversation like that. Howdy, Chuck and chat. Hope you all are well. Thanks, Daniel. So wait, combine head voice with lowering the larynx. All right, yeah. So we got a number of different things going on right now. We've got to go back to I've got to go back to what the topic is today, and then maybe I can circle back and show you the difference between a high larynx and a low larynx in head voice. Okay. So, all right. Now, here's what a pulled chest sounds like in my voice. I'm starting at the G. Ladies, the same as for you too. It's just you started at the C, for example. But if I said, very, very little, if any, of the vibration or resonance is going above the roof of my mouth. It's just hitting the hard palate and vibrating my head. Okay, so I mean my whole head is vibrating, and it feels really nice and powerful, but it does start to get me hoarse, and it starts to strain my voice. Listen what happens if I start to mix if the tone starts to go, instead of going up like this, this is an illustration of the tone, okay? If the tone is going straight up and hitting my hard palate, then it starts to hit the soft palate in the back, and that tone, and this is not scientific. This is first-person description of what it feels like to me. I'm sure the scientists have a better explanation scientifically, but I'm just talking about what I as a singer feel. And so I feel like it's hitting this bone when I'm pulling chest, and like it just feels real big and powerful, kind of like, to me, that sound of. But if I take a vowel, an ah, and narrow it to then that helps that vibration move back in my head, and it feels like it's hitting that soft palate and going up into up above the roof of the mouth now, and that allows the larynx to come down, and allows a blend of chest voice and head voice. So now I'm starting to mix there, but it feels like this, because I'm hitting that soft palate back. I'm hitting the soft tissue rather than hitting the bone of the roof of my mouth. So that's one way that I begin to discover in my own voice, and it takes a while to feel that. Now, part of the challenge is that we're singing songs, and maybe part of it we're doing okay, but then we hit a vowel that's kind of splats, and boom, it pulls the larynx up, and we start pulling chest voice. Well, that's that maybe is harder to tell if you're doing that or not. And so, but a couple things happened right off the bat, and that was illustrated in the video that I showed the other day, yesterday. Sorry, and so that she'd sing the words. Let me see. I wrote them down here because when I was making the video. I've tried so hard to tell myself. So a lot of times everything would be in a mix, and then she'd sing the word, or whoever was singing would sing tell, and it would go into chest. Or they'd sing along, but though you're still with me, I've been alone, all, and all would just go out. It'd fall out of her mix and go into pulled chest. Along. And along was a real common thing. And she'd sing along on the A, which is in the bridge, and so it would say, I can't really sing it that high, but let's just pretend it's here. And instead of saying long, it was la, and it feels so powerful and big that you think, I just got to do that. But in reality, it's pulling the chest voice high, it's pulling the larynx up, and I'm not saying it always sounds bad. Many of us may prefer that sound, but I'm saying it doesn't have to be that way. It's not good singing, and eventually it's going to catch up with the singer. They're going to have problems because they're going to start losing the next note. They're not going to be able to go higher singing like that, or higher. They're going to start losing the upper. They're going to get hoarse. They could do damage to their vocal cords, and then they go into surgery, or they hemorrhage. Please listen to Adele over her first, 5 years. And then, people, her fans, and she preferred that sound. It cost her 2 hemorrhages. And I'm not saying I didn't like the sound. Once I began to realize what was going on, I liked it less, and now I don't like it at all. I would much rather someone, sing with a mix, but it's my personal preference. And I don't want to impose that on you. It's my preference. I guarantee you, someone will tell me in any of my comments that I'm either wrong or I'm misled or misinformed. I'm just saying that when you pull chest, and especially when you pull over and over again, it eventually leads to vocal damage. Why? Well, because it damages the vocal cords. I don't know all the science behind it, but it does. I can't speak for Stevie Wonder, but I know his history was he came from surgery. As a very young singer, he had surgery on his vocal cords, and he went and Seth Riggs was asked to work with him and to rehabilitate his voice coming from surgery. He'd never worked with him before, but it's my understanding that from that day forward, he's never had surgery again, and it's because he's learned to mix and learned to be in head voice. There are many, many singers out there, you guys, that are pros, that are making gajillions of dollars, that end up damaging their voices and have to have surgery, and in some cases don't recover fully. So that's one reason why I want to promote healthy singing, because I personally want to sing I want to sing in my 70s and 80s. I'm 66 right now, and I've got a supporting role in My Fair Lady, and I'm just excited. Now it's in a low register. It's not too challenging vocally. It's in the lower part of my, well, yeah, for the most part, it's not that challenging from a standpoint of how high I sing. But I want to be able to sing until I'm old. You can tell that I don't think 66 is old. For years, and I should be able to. We all should be able to. But you won't be able to pull chest or belt wide vowels and pull up the larynx all your career. You won't be able to. I want you to. That's reason number one. I don't want you to damage your voices. Reason number two is I prefer the full range of overtones that I hear in voices that are singing with mix and head voice and not pulling. I prefer that sound. Now that I hear it, understand it, oh, I appreciate it so much when people are able to do that. So anyway, I've been on a soapbox here. Probably nobody's still around. So if you're coming after the fact, all right. So let me address right now what are some extra, well, let me a couple questions here, and then we'll talk about some exercises. H3000 does transform of tongue naturally affect the height of the larynx? I'm feeling the tongue, its vibration, flexing, and size is very essential when it comes to hitting and holding clean notes. Quick opinion. The tongue is not the pitch maker. You should leave the tongue out of making pitch. The tongue is the enunciator. It's what you use to pronounce words. You use them to form the vowel and the consonants. The pitch maker is here. Right behind the larynx are the vocal cords. That's what makes the pitch. Pitch maker here, enunciator here. Don't use the tongue to make pitch or to try and help you make pitch. That's not what you want. Okay. Because you're going to find out that, for example, if I said as soon as I engage the tongue to help me get a pitch, the tongue stops. What does that tell you? Tension, unneeded and unwanted tension. Okay, so the exercises, guys, that I give you, that I give week after week, month after month, year after year, many of those exercises will do exactly what I'm talking about here and help retrain the larynx to stay down. Help retrain the larynx to stay down where you talk. And it's a constant battle. It is for me, at least. And I've got to revisit the exercises. I have to keep my voice in condition, and I have to learn. I have to learn the feeling of mix and all of these things. And then I have to develop my voice so that I can get all the power we're talking about that way. So I don't have to try and shortcut it with some other kind of belting, because I don't feel adequate in my power. Oh boy, I'm really on a soapbox today, aren't I? Okay. Very simply. When you do the bubble, keep your tongue down below, right behind the lower teeth. Just let it rest there. Don't let the tongue move around or pull it back. Just and all of that, my tongue was just resting down below the lower teeth. Now I'm beginning the women's first bridge. In this bubble, the larynx is staying down. So the bubble lips are a wonderful exercise to train the larynx to stay down while the vibration or resonance moves up into the head cavity. And as the pitch ascends, that's what it does. It moves up into the head. And so, but the larynx is staying down. That's why that's such an amazing exercise. And it's a great warm-up. And it's something that we should do every day. The second thing, a second exercise that will help keep the larynx down is gee, 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 gee. We all know this, those of you who follow, but if I said duh, duh, you can see the Adam's apple drop. Duh. Now, if I just say duh, duh, it doesn't do much. Duh. But if I say duh, duh, it drops. So I want to say, in this case, with a gee, gee, put a dopey sound, gee, with an E. Gee, 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 gee. And by doing that exercise, gee, 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 gee. Gee, 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 gee. I have to let it go hooty. Gee, 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 gee. Because if I say gee, 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 you can see it go up. The larynx goes up. Gee, 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 gee. Gee, 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 gee. Gee, 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 gee. Starting where the girls bridge. Gee, 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 gee. Now, in answer to a question a few minutes ago, someone was asking about the, I think it might have been Russell, because head voice doesn't seem like what I'm looking for. Is there a way to get a voice as powerful in certain belting techniques without actually belting? Because head voice isn't really seeing what I'm looking for. It actually seems a lot closer to falsetto. Oh, okay, I'm getting the question now. So he says the head voice sounds like falsetto. It can if you haven't practiced getting up there in head voice. But let me show you the difference between the larynx. Let's see. Watch what happens if I lose that dopey sound. Just by going a little bit on the dopey side, the larynx comes down. So that E is that little shrill, thin sound. The larynx is coming up. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to have that happen, because now I'm robbing myself of, if I were relying on my legs, let's say, instead of using the quadriceps and the hamstrings, now I'm just using the hamstrings. I'm only using part of my voice. I'm only using part of the musculature. So I want everything involved in that, in making the tone. And I don't want to have a lot of tension. Now, I'm telling you, not to manipulate and all these different things, but in these exercises, if your larynx is coming up, we got to do something to retrain it. So that dopey sound will help. Over time, you get rid of it. Get rid of the dopey sound when the larynx stays down without it. And that's what we're going for. So we want the larynx to stay down. Now, I'm letting it go hooty, but I'm not imposing the larynx down. So I'm not imposing that. Here's the imposition. Is just speech level. But to get to that point, I did have to do these low larynx exercises just to retrain it. I got to change the muscle memory here. Okay, so the gee 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 is an awesome exercise to help pull the larynx down. I'm not doing a lot of conversations here. because I'm kind of giving my I'm on my soapbox today. All right. So what's another exercise to help? So these exercises will help me stop pulling chest voice. Why? Because I'm learning how to keep the larynx down while I'm singing higher. You can hear my scratchy voice. I've had some acid reflux. I've gone back on some medication. I hope to get it corrected here in a little while. It's frustrating. That's my life right now. So I've just got to deal with it. Anyway. Another exercise that will help keep the larynx down is, let's just take a variation of what we've done, but on a different scale. And if I said, I'm exaggerating that until I can get it without it. Eventually it's or I could do it on leave the G and just do it on E. Impose Now that's imposed. If I go back to normal, so it's just to help us get through that bridge and keep the larynx down. Once you're able to get that, then we discard the dopey sound, because that's not speech level either, is it? That imposition. We don't talk that way, so why would I sing that way, in the words of Mr. Riggs? So yeah, we want to get rid of the imposition. We're just talking about exercises here to use in singing, so that it gets us in a condition that we can sing naturally. We use it to counteract the larynx coming up until it does it on its own, right? Just like any other physical training that you do. If you've ever trained in any sport, you might train a certain muscle or do a certain kind of exercise that will help you perform your sport. That's all we're doing. This is an exercise to help you perform your sport. You wouldn't do that exercise in the sport while you're doing it. Just like when you sing, you wouldn't sing this way that you maybe do when you exercise. But it's retraining your nervous system to be able to allow this vibration to go up into your head without pulling. Now, that's not imposing the larynx down, but I'm able to do it and have the larynx stay because I've worked all these exercises before. Titus Romero, hi Titus, or Titus, nice to have you here. I have a hard time singing the D and E flat above middle C. I know it shouldn't be all chest voice, but hard to get power if I try to sing light. Any suggestions? Titus, my suggestion is, I've put it in this video somewhere, like check the card, should be up in the corner here. If it's not there now, it will be when this video is over. And get your vocal test, determine your vocal type. Now it's a PDF that will take you to a vocal test, and then once you get your vocal test, to find out your vocal type, then do the exercises for your vocal type. I'm going to guess from what you're describing to me, you tend to be pulled chest, high larynx like me. And so I want you would watch the videos on pulled chest, high larynx. That's on the PDF. And then you do the exercises. You can download exercises. They're free for your vocal type. And that is going to help you get exactly what you're looking for there. Because I was in exactly the same place that you're in right now. And all I could do is just very hard chest there. But now I've learned over the years to say, mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. Mum, 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 mum. Those are all that's not pulling chest. And I'm not in falsetto. It's a mixed voice, and it's much stronger than it used to be. And that's what those exercises will lead you to do. Okay? So you don't have to yell it. Micah Lane, how are you doing, Micah? How long do you usually have to train these geeky, dopey exercises to get the larynx to stay down, or more or less automatically? Micah, it took me a couple months before I could actually get into my head voice with these exercises. I'm a little slow, and I was 43 before I discovered all of this. So my muscle memory was pretty rigid. And even now, when I get reflux and maybe not enough sleep, and anyway, the show I'm in right now, there's no pressure because I play a functioning drunk, basically. And the songs I sing, it doesn't matter if I have a little bit of scratch in my voice, but it does matter when we want a nice, clear, clean sound. And so it's something that I have to be consistently aware of and do exercises for to just reinforce this capacity that the larynx stay down while the sound goes up, while the vibration, the tone goes up. And so I would say, it was like eight months later after I started this technique, I sang an F, but it still spread. The vowel spread, the larynx came up, and I pulled chest a little bit. I don't want to be discouraging here, but for me, it took longer than a year. And then I dropped out for a while, just listening to tapes, and I made progress. I made improvement for a couple years, but then I got back with a teacher again. And that helped a lot, helped me a lot. Now, we didn't have video back then. Well, we didn't have YouTube back then. We didn't have training online like we do now. And so there's a lot more resources for you available where you can hear and watch and see and experience. I didn't have that. So it took me a couple years, really. But you're a better singer than I am, Micah. Russell Sapphire said, I tried it, and I think it sounds a little better. Okay, Russell, sometimes it takes some time, because a new coordination, you have to relearn some things. Thanks for the advice. I'm going to practice this later and see if I can do my Baldy cover better. Now here's an exercise that helps you feel the difference between pulled chest and mix. This is in the guy's register. If you said no 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 no, the ooh is pretty heady here. No 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 no. I'm not saying no no no. I'm saying no no no. Now if I go to no 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 no, I'm staying in the mix in that demonstration. But look what happens if I lose that mix and open the vowel too wide. No, 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 no. That's pulled up chest. And if you can do it correctly, no, 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 no. That's when you start feeling or learning what mix feels like. And that it stays right in the same feel. I'm leaving ooh on my lips. No, 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 no. But if I say no, no, then I lose it. And it goes, instead of being in a mix, it goes into my chest. And that's pulled up chest because I'm in the bridge and I shouldn't be just in pure chest at that point. And so that's the difference. Going up a half a step. No, 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 no. No, 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 on the G, which is the head voice. So I do the same coordination there. I just keep going, and it stays correct. But if I said no, 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 then I'm pulling up the chest voice. I'm losing the mixed coordination. Do those two things, and you start to feel, oh, okay, that's what it feels like to pull up chest. Ladies, you could do the same thing. Let's just say it was on the B. No, 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 no. But if we said no, 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 and open it up too wide, then you're going to be pulling up chest at that point. Do those two exercises. Do it correctly. No, 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 or no, no, no. Now I'm singing in my head voice. You would be singing that in your mix. So for me, it would be here. No, 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 no. But if you said no, no, then you can feel what pulled up chest feels like, and what it and you can hear it too. We end up singing by feel. And so I don't go too much on what my ear is telling me, because it's hard to tell what you're hearing inside my head. But I can feel it. And that's the key. You start feeling it in your voice. You start feeling it in the muscle, in the musculature, in the vibration, where it's happening, and so forth. Okay, that's it for the day. I've got a student coming in 8 minutes, and I got to get ready for her. Oh, she's here. She's here. So the exercises that I gave you today will help you stop pulling chest voice. These last exercises I gave you today will help you recognize when you're in your mix or head voice, and when it falls out into chest voice, which also pulls the larynx higher at the same time. And just listen to this. Listen to it a few times. Try and duplicate it in your own voice. Men on the F above middle C, ladies on the B above middle C. And you're going to discover that there is a difference in feel. It's harder to do, I think. But it's worth it. And it will lead to great and amazing and wonderful things in your voice if you have the patience to develop it and to allow your body to respond naturally and normally to your voice and what you've got there. Rather than trying to manipulate it or create some kind of special sound, you want to get it to as much like you speak, if you speak normally, as much like you speak as possible. Because then you'll be able to sing all day, all night, for all of your life, and have a voice, that people want to listen to, and it'll be healthy, a healthy voice, without problems, without nodules and other things, hemorrhages and things like that happen. So, end of discussion. Thanks for joining me today, and I'm Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing, and this is Power to Sing Live, number 138. You can sing higher with beauty, confidence, and power. I'll see you inside the next video.